The glass doors of the downtown office building looked so clean that Lisa almost walked straight into them. She caught herself just in time, her worn sneakers squeaking against the marble floor as she stumbled forward. Her baby daughter Sophie started fussing in her arms, sensing her mother's nervousness. Lisa took a deep breath and looked around. Everything in this building screamed money. The floors were so shiny she could see her reflection. The plants in the corner probably cost more than her entire month's rent. Well, her old rent anyway. She didn't have an apartment anymore. She glanced at her phone. The interview was on the 15th floor, and she had exactly 7 minutes to get there. The janitorial company had been clear on the phone. Be on time, dress professionally, and absolutely do not bring children. But what choice did she have? Her neighbor who usually watched Sophie had the flu, and Lisa couldn't afford to miss this opportunity. She'd just have to hope they'd understand. The elevator doors slid open with a soft ding, and Lisa hurried inside, pressing the button for the 15th floor. Just as the doors started to close, a hand shot through, triggering the sensor. The doors reopened and a man stepped in. Lisa's stomach dropped. She knew expensive when she saw it, and this man was wearing at least 3 months of her grocery budget on his body. His suit was perfectly tailored, his shoes polished to a mirror shine, and his watch caught the light in a way that made her think of car payments. He held his phone in one hand, typing furiously, not even glancing her way as he pressed the button for the 20th floor. Sophie chose that exact moment to let out a cry. Not her hungry cry or her tired cry, but that building up to something worse cry that every mother dreads. Lisa bounced her gently, whispering soothing words, very aware of the man standing just 3 feet away. He still hadn't looked up from his phone, but she saw his jaw tighten slightly. The elevator started moving and Lisa counted the floors in her head. 3, 4, 5. Sophie's crying got louder. 6, 7. Lisa reached into her bag with one hand, trying to find the pacifier she knew was in there somewhere. 8, 9. Then the elevator made a sound it definitely shouldn't have made, a grinding mechanical groan that seemed to come from everywhere at once. The lights flickered. Sophie screamed. And suddenly everything stopped. The silence that followed was almost worse than the noise. The elevator hung there, suspended between floors, the display frozen at 10.5. Lisa felt her heart hammering so hard she was sure the man could hear it. "What just happened?" she asked, her voice coming out smaller than she intended. The man finally looked up from his phone. His eyes were dark, his expression unreadable. "The elevator stopped," he said flatly, as if she hadn't already figured that out. He reached over and pressed the emergency button. Nothing happened. He pressed it again, harder this time. Still nothing. Sophie was full-on wailing now, her little face red and scrunched up. Lisa shifted her weight, trying different positions, different bouncing rhythms. Anything to calm her down. "I'm so sorry," she said to the man. "She's usually not like this. She's just scared." The man pulled out his phone, jabbed at the screen, then held it up, searching for a signal. "Of course," he muttered. "No service." He looked at Lisa for the first time, really looked at her, and she saw something flicker across his face. Annoyance? Disgust? Why would you bring a baby to an office building? The question hit Lisa like a slap. She felt her face go hot. "I have an interview," she said quietly. I didn't have anyone to watch her. "An interview," he repeated, and the way he said it made it sound like the most ridiculous thing he'd ever heard. He turned away from her, pressing the emergency button again with more force. "This is unbelievable. I have a board meeting in 20 minutes. Lisa bit her lip, focusing on Sophie, trying to block him out. She pulled out the pacifier, but Sophie batted it away with her tiny fist. The temperature in the elevator seemed to be rising already. Or maybe that was just Lisa's anxiety making her sweat. 5 minutes passed, then 10. The man, whose name she still didn't know, had called the emergency number at least 6 times, each call going straight to voicemail. He left increasingly irritated messages about being trapped, about important meetings, about unacceptable service. Sophie's crying had settled into a miserable whimper, and Lisa could feel wetness seeping through the baby's clothes. She needed a diaper change. Of course she did, because this situation couldn't possibly get any worse. Lisa started, hating every second of this. I need to change her diaper." The man's eyes widened slightly. "Here? I don't really have a choice," Lisa said, trying to keep her voice steady. "Unless you want to smell it for however long we're stuck in here." He turned around immediately. facing the corner of the elevator, his shoulders rigid. Lisa spread out the changing pad on the floor as quickly as she could, trying to work fast. Sophie kicked and fussed, making everything harder. Lisa's hands were shaking so badly she almost dropped the fresh diaper. "I'm sorry," she whispered to Sophie. "I know, baby. I know this isn't fun." The man said nothing, but she could see his reflection in the polished elevator panel. He had his eyes squeezed shut, one hand pressed against the wall. He looked like he wanted to be anywhere else in the world. When Lisa finished, she bundled everything into a plastic bag, tied it tight, and set it in the corner farthest from both of them. She picked Sophie back up, and the baby immediately started rooting against her chest. Hungry? Of course. Lisa's heart sank. The diaper bag with Sophie's bottle was sitting outside the elevator, where she'd set it down to adjust her interview outfit. She'd meant to grab it. She'd meant to. But in her rush to make the elevator, she'd forgotten. She tried to distract Sophie, bouncing her, singing softly, "But babies know what they want." Sophie's cries escalated again, angrier this time. The sound bounced off the elevator walls, impossibly loud in the small space. "Can't you make her stop?" the man asked, his voice tight. "I'm trying," Lisa said, and she hated how her own voice cracked. "Her bottle is outside." "I forgot it." "You forgot it." He turned around now, facing her fully. "You brought a baby to a job interview and forgot her bottle." Something inside Lisa snapped. Maybe it was the stress, maybe it was the heat. Maybe it was the way he was looking at her like she was the stupidest person alive. "Yes, okay? I forgot it. I'm sorry I'm not perfect. I'm sorry my life isn't as together as yours clearly is. I'm doing the best I can." The man blinked, surprised by her outburst. He opened his mouth, then closed it again. The emergency phone suddenly crackled to life, making them both jump. "Maintenance here," a tinny voice said. "We're aware of the situation. We've got a crew working on it. Shouldn't be more than an hour." "An hour," the man said, grabbing the phone. "I need to be out of here now." "Do you know who I am?" "Sir, we're working as fast as we can. The mechanism is jammed. We need to proceed carefully for safety reasons." The line went dead. The man slammed the phone back into its cradle, then slid down the wall until he was sitting on the floor, his expensive suit probably getting dusty. He put his head in his hands. Sophie was still crying, but softer now, exhausted from all the screaming. Lisa swayed back and forth, her arms aching from holding her daughter for so long. Sweat dripped down her back. Her interview time had come and gone. Even if she got out now, the position was probably gone. She looked at the man sitting across from her and wondered who he was. Someone important, clearly. Someone who thought board meetings were more urgent than anything else. Someone who probably never had to worry about rent or grocery money or finding someone to watch his kid. The elevator groaned slightly, settling. Neither of them moved. Sophie's cries echoed in the silence between them, and Lisa closed her eyes, wondering how much worse this day could possibly get. The hour mark came and went. Lisa had stopped checking her phone to save battery. Sophie had cried herself into a fitful sleep against Lisa's shoulder, her little body hot and sweaty in the stuffy elevator. Lisa's arms felt like they might fall off, but she didn't dare put Sophie down. The floor didn't look clean enough, despite how expensive everything in this building was. The man was still sitting on the floor across from her, though he'd stopped checking his phone every 30 seconds. Now he just stared at the doors, as if willing them to open through sheer force of concentration. His tie was loosened, the first button of his shirt undone. He looked uncomfortable. Good, Lisa thought bitterly. "Join the club, so," he said, suddenly breaking the silence. "What was the interview for?" Lisa looked at him, surprised he was actually talking to her. "Janitorial position. Night shift," he nodded slowly. "And you were going to work nights with a baby?" Here we go again, Lisa thought. Another person who didn't understand. My neighbor was going to watch her. She works from home during the day, so she'd be sleeping anyway. It was all arranged, but she wasn't available today. "She has the flu," Lisa said, her voice defensive. "I couldn't just cancel the interview. I've been looking for work for 3 months. Do you know how hard it is to even get a call back?" The man was quiet for a moment. "What did you do before?" "Before the job search, I worked at a diner. Double shifts most days. But they closed down 6 months ago. Owner retired." Lisa shifted Sophie to her other shoulder, trying to get feeling back in her arm. "Then my husband died and everything kind of fell apart." She hadn't meant to say that last part. It just slipped out. probably because she was tired and stressed and trapped in a metal box with a stranger. She waited for the usual response. The awkward condolences, the pitying look, the quick change of subject, but the man just said, "How?" "Construction accident," Lisa said quietly. "Wrong place, wrong time." A crane cable snapped. He was 26. Sophie stirred against her shoulder, making small distressed noises even in sleep. Lisa rubbed her back in slow circles the way she always did. The way Danny used to do when he'd get home from work and take over baby duty so Lisa could have 10 minutes to herself. "I'm sorry," the man said, and he actually sounded like he meant it. "That's horrible." "Yeah." Lisa felt tears prick her eyes and blinked them away furiously. She would not cry in front of this stranger. The life insurance barely covered the funeral. There was supposed to be more, but apparently he'd missed some payments when work was slow. "I didn't even know. We were behind on everything." She didn't know why she was telling him all this. Maybe because he was there. Maybe because she hadn't really talked to another adult in weeks. Her mom lived 3 states away and was dealing with her own health problems. Her friends had slowly disappeared when she couldn't afford to go out anymore, when every conversation became about her problems instead of fun gossip. "So now it's just me and Sophie," Lisa continued. "And we're staying in my car right now because I couldn't make rent last month. And this interview was supposed to be the thing that fixed it all. This was supposed to be the start of getting back on track." The man looked at her, really looked at her, and Lisa saw his expression change. The irritation faded into something else, something that might have been guilt. "You're living in your car with a baby," he said, not quite a question. "A very nice 2008 Honda Civic," Lisa said, trying for humor but falling flat. "It's fine. We're fine. It's just temporary." "Where do you park?" "Behind the grocery store on 5th Street. They don't tow if you move every morning. There's a gas station bathroom where I can clean up and change Sophie." Lisa felt her face burning. Why was she telling him all this? He probably thought she was a complete disaster. She thought she was a complete disaster. The man ran his hand through his hair, messing up whatever product he'd had in it. He looked younger suddenly, less like an intimidating businessman and more like a regular person. "I grew up poor," he said abruptly. Lisa waited. She'd learned that sometimes people just needed silence to fill. "Really poor," he continued. "The kind where you wear the same 3 shirts to school all year and hope nobody notices. My mom worked 3 jobs trying to keep us afloat after my dad left. One of those jobs was cleaning offices at night." "Yeah?" Lisa said softly. "Yeah. She'd take me with her sometimes when she couldn't find a sitter. I'd sleep on the couch in the break rooms while she vacuumed and scrubbed toilets. I remember the smell of industrial cleaner. I remember her hands were always cracked and red from the chemicals." He laughed, but there was no humor in it. "I swore when I grew up I'd make enough money that she'd never have to clean another toilet. That she could rest." "Did you?" Lisa asked. "I did. But by the time I could actually help her, she didn't need it anymore. She'd worked herself into a management position, then into the corporate side of the cleaning company. She's retired now, comfortable. Did it all herself." He looked at his expensive watch, his expensive suit. "I built a tech company, made my first $1 million before I was 30. And somewhere along the way I turned into the kind of person who gets annoyed when someone brings a baby into my elevator." The admission hung in the air between them. Sophie made a small noise and her eyes fluttered open. She looked around, confused, then saw Lisa and relaxed slightly. But Lisa could tell what was coming. In about 30 seconds, Sophie was going to realize she was still hungry, and the crying would start again. "What's her name?" the man asked. "Sophie. She's 7 months old." Lisa braced herself as Sophie's face started to scrunch up. "Here we go." Sophie's cries started soft but quickly ramped up to full volume. Lisa stood, bouncing and swaying, trying everything. She sang lullabies. She made silly faces. She whispered promises she wasn't sure she could keep. "Nothing worked, may I?" the man said, standing up. Lisa stared at him. "What? May I try?" He held out his arms awkwardly, like he wasn't quite sure what to do with them. "I helped with my sister's kids a few times. I might be able to help." Lisa hesitated. Every instinct told her not to hand her baby to a stranger. But her arms were shaking with exhaustion, and Sophie was crying so hard she was starting to choke on her own tears. And there was something in the man's face, something genuine that made Lisa think maybe it would be okay. "Okay," she said, carefully transferring Sophie into his arms. "Support her head. That's it. The man took Sophie carefully, holding her against his chest. Sophie, surprised by the change, stopped crying for a moment. She looked up at this new face, her tiny forehead wrinkled in confusion. "Hey there," the man said softly. "I know you're hungry. I know this is scary. But your mom is right here and she's doing an amazing job, okay? You've got a really strong mom." Sophie's bottom lip trembled. Then she started crying again, but softer this time. The man started bouncing slightly the way Lisa had been doing. He was stiff at first, mechanical, but gradually he found a rhythm. He started humming something off-key and awkward, but Sophie seemed to respond to it. Lisa watched, rubbing her sore arms. The man in the expensive suit standing in the broken elevator, humming to her crying baby. "Nothing about this day made any sense. What's your name?" she asked. "I just realized I've been trapped with you for 2 hours and I don't even know your name." "David," he said, still bouncing Sophie. "David Chen." The name sounded familiar, but Lisa couldn't place it. She was too tired to think about it. "I'm Lisa. Lisa Ramirez. Nice to meet you, Lisa. I wish it was under better circumstances." Sophie's cries had reduced to unhappy whimpers. She was still uncomfortable, still hungry, but having someone new hold her had given her something else to focus on. David looked down at her with an expression Lisa couldn't quite read. "I'd forgotten," he said quietly, "what it's like to really need something. To be desperate. I get frustrated when my coffee order is wrong. I complain when my driver is 5 minutes late. And here you are, living in your car, and you're still fighting to make a better life for your daughter. Still showing up for interviews. Still trying. What else can I do?" Lisa said, "and give up. A lot of people would. I'm not a lot of people. Sophie deserves better than a mom who gave up." Lisa watched her daughter, saw her tiny fist clutch at David's shirt. She deserves someone who fights. The emergency phone crackled again. They both jumped. "This is maintenance. We've hit a complication. It's going to be closer to 3 hours total. We're very sorry for the inconvenience." David looked at Lisa. Lisa looked at Sophie. 3 more hours in this metal box. "We're going to need to figure something out," David said. "She needs to eat." Lisa slumped against the wall. "I know. I just don't know what to do. Even if I had the bottle, the formula's probably warm by now. You're not supposed to use warm formula." David was quiet for a long moment, still bouncing Sophie. Then he said, "Tell me about your nursing dream." "What?" "Earlier you mentioned it. You wanted to be a nurse." Lisa blinked. Had she said that? She must have in her rambling. "Oh yeah, that was before Sophie, before Danny died. I was taking prerequisites at community college. I wanted to be a pediatric nurse. Why'd you stop?" Lisa laughed, but it came out bitter. "Why do you think?" "School costs money. Books cost money. Someone has to watch Sophie while I'm in class. Someone has to pay for food and diapers and rent." She shook her head. "It's a nice dream. That's all it is now." David opened his mouth to respond, but Sophie let out a particularly loud wail, and whatever he was going to say was lost. The temperature in the elevator seemed to be climbing, and Lisa could see sweat beading on David's forehead. This was going to be a very long 3 hours. 4 hours. 4 hours trapped in an elevator that felt like it was getting smaller by the minute. Lisa had taken Sophie back from David about 20 minutes ago when his arm started shaking. Now they were sitting on opposite sides of the elevator, both exhausted, both sweaty, both worried. Sophie had stopped crying out of pure exhaustion. She just lay against Lisa's chest, making small, unhappy noises, her skin feeling too warm. Lisa had been trying not to panic, but it was getting harder. "She's really hot," Lisa said, touching Sophie's forehead for the 100th time. "I think she has a fever." David sat up straighter. "How hot?" "I don't have a thermometer, but she feels hot. Too hot." Lisa's voice started to shake. "And she's breathing fast?" "She has a heart condition. It's small, manageable. The doctors said it was nothing to worry about as long as we keep her stress levels down and she stays healthy. But this heat, being hungry, all the crying. What kind of heart condition?" David's voice was sharp now, focused. "Atrial septal defect. It's a small hole between the chambers of her heart. They said it might close on its own as she grows, but until then we have to be careful. No prolonged stress, watch for fever, make sure she doesn't get dehydrated." Lisa heard her voice climbing higher. "This is exactly what they told me to avoid." David was on his feet, pressing the emergency button repeatedly. "We need to get out of here now." Nothing happened. The button might as well have been decorative. We need to cool her down, David said, already pulling off his suit jacket. And keep her hydrated somehow. With what? Lisa felt tears starting to fall. She couldn't stop them anymore. I don't have water. I don't have formula. I don't have anything. David looked at his jacket, then at his shirt. He unbuttoned his shirt, pulled it off, leaving just his undershirt. He handed the dress shirt to Lisa. It's damp with sweat. Use it to wipe her down. Keep her cool. Lisa took the shirt with trembling hands. It was expensive. Probably cost more than she spent on groceries in a month. But right now it was just fabric and Sophie needed it. She carefully wiped Sophie's face, her neck, her little arms. Sophie fussed but didn't cry. She was too tired to cry. David had his phone out, pacing the small space like a caged animal. I'm trying to get a signal. There has to be a way to get a message out. He held the phone up to different corners of the elevator, watching the bars flicker in and out. Come on, come on. Even if you get through, what can they do? Lisa said, trying to sound calm and failing completely. We're stuck. They're working on it. That's all anyone can do. That's not good enough, David jabbed at his phone. There has to be someone I can call. Someone who can make this go faster. You can't throw money at a jammed elevator, Lisa said quietly. David stopped pacing and looked at her, really looked at her. His hair was sticking up where he'd run his hands through it. His undershirt had sweat stains. His expensive shoes were scuffed from pacing. He looked nothing like the polished businessman who'd stepped into the elevator 4 hours ago. You're right, he said finally, but I can't just sit here and do nothing while a baby needs help. Something about the way he said it made Lisa's throat tighten. This stranger, this rich businessman who'd been annoyed by her existence, was genuinely scared for Sophie. She could see it in his face, hear it in his voice. Tell me more about her condition, David said, sitting back down. What are the warning signs I should watch for? Lisa explained as best she could using the medical terms the doctors had taught her. Blue tint to the lips or fingers, rapid breathing that didn't slow down, lethargy beyond normal tiredness. David listened intently, asking questions, making mental notes. Okay, he said when she finished. Okay, we watch her closely. We keep her as cool and calm as possible. And the second those doors open, we get her to a hospital. I can't afford, Lisa started, then stopped. What did it matter what she could afford? If Sophie needed a hospital, she'd figure it out. She'd find a way. She always found a way. Don't worry about that, David said firmly. I know a pediatric cardiologist, one of the best in the state. He owes me a favor. The second we're out of here, I'm calling him. I can't ask you to do that. You're not asking. I'm offering. David leaned his head back against the wall. My mom used to tell me that money is just paper unless you use it to help people. I haven't done much helping lately. I've been too busy making more paper. They sat in silence for a while. Sophie's breathing seemed to even out slightly. Maybe the cooling down was helping. Maybe Lisa was just desperately hoping it was helping. Can I ask you something? David said. Sure. Why nursing? Out of all the things you could have chosen, Lisa smiled a little, remembering. When I was 17, my grandma had a stroke. She was in the hospital for weeks. There was this one nurse, Claire, who took care of her on the night shift. My grandma was scared, confused. She kept forgetting where she was, getting agitated. Claire never got frustrated. She'd sit with her, hold her hand, explain things as many times as needed. She made my grandma feel safe. And that's what you wanted to do, David said. Yeah, I wanted to be the person who makes scared people feel safe, who treats them like they matter, not just like another patient in another bed. Lisa looked down at Sophie. When Sophie was born with her heart condition, the nurses were amazing. They taught me everything, answered every panicked question I had at 3 a.m. They're the reason I knew what to watch for, how to keep her safe. I wanted to do that for other people. You'd be good at it, David said. How would you know? Because you're doing it right now.
Keeping calm when you're terrified.
Taking care of Sophie even though you're exhausted. Explaining medical terms in a way I can understand. He gestured around the elevator. This is probably the worst job interview you've ever had, but you're handling it better than most people would. Lisa laughed, surprising herself. This is definitely not what I expected when I woke up this morning. Me neither. David checked his phone again. Still no signal. But it's been 4 hours. They have to be close to getting us out. As if in response, the elevator groaned. Both of them froze. The sound was different from before, less concerning somehow. More like machinery working than machinery breaking. Did you hear that? Lisa whispered. Yeah. David stood up carefully. Maybe they're making progress. Sophie stirred, her eyes opening. She looked around, then up at Lisa, and her bottom lip started to tremble. Lisa braced herself for another round of crying, but Sophie seemed too tired. She just made sad little sounds, her tiny face scrunched up in misery. I know, baby girl, Lisa murmured. I know you're hungry and hot, and this is awful. But we're going to get out soon, and then we're going to get you all fixed up, Mommy promises. David was watching them, his expression unreadable. You're a good mom, he said quietly. I'm trying to be. That's all any of us can do. Try. He sat back down, seemed to be thinking about something. Lisa, when we get out of here, I want to help. Really help. You don't have to. I know I don't have to. I want to. David leaned forward. You said you wanted to go back to school. What if the obstacles disappeared? The money, the childcare, the time. What if you could actually do it? Lisa stared at him. That's a nice fantasy. It doesn't have to be a fantasy. David pulled out his phone again, not to check for signal this time, but to open something. My company has a foundation. We give scholarships, help with childcare, all kinds of programs. Most of them were my mom's idea, actually. She never forgot where we came from, even when I did. David, I can't. Just listen, please. He looked at her intently. I built my company to solve problems. That's what technology is supposed to do. Make life easier, connect people, create solutions. But somewhere along the way, I started focusing on profit margins and market share and forgot about actual people. You reminded me of something important today. What's that? That behind every statistic, every demographic, every number in a report, there's a person. A real person with real problems and real dreams, like you, like your daughter. David's voice was passionate now. You're living in your car, trying to make a better life for Sophie. That's not a handout situation. That's an investment situation. An investment in someone who's already proven they're willing to fight. Lisa felt more tears coming. I don't know what to say. Don't say anything yet. Wait until we get out of here. Then we'll really talk about what help looks like. About scholarships and childcare and part-time work that fits your schedule. About giving you a real shot at that nursing degree. He smiled, and it was genuine. My mom would be proud of this conversation. She always said I needed to remember where I came from. The elevator groaned again, louder this time. Then, miracle of miracles, the lights flickered and came back on at full brightness. The display jumped to life, showing they were still between floors 10 and 11. But something was happening. Something was moving. Is it? Lisa started. I think so, David said, standing up. I think they're getting us out. Lisa got to her feet, holding Sophie tight. Her legs were shaky from sitting so long. Sophie made a small noise of protest at being moved but didn't cry. She was too exhausted for even that. The elevator shifted, not falling but moving up slowly, carefully. Lisa could hear voices outside now, multiple people, machinery, activity. They were between 10 and 11. If the elevator could just move up half a floor, they could get the doors open. Come on, David muttered. Come on. The elevator inched upward, stopped, inched again. It felt like it took forever. Each second stretching out impossibly long. Sophie's breathing was fast against Lisa's chest. Her skin was still too warm. Almost there, Lisa whispered, not sure if she was talking to Sophie or herself. Almost there, baby. The elevator jolted and Lisa stumbled. David caught her arm, steadying her. The elevator settled with a final groan, and the display showed 11. Floor 11. They'd made it. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then they heard banging on the doors, voices shouting instructions. The doors shuddered, trying to open, stuck, more banging, more voices. And then, finally, blessedly, the doors began to slide apart. Just a few inches at first, then wider. Light flooded in and air, beautiful cool air. Lisa could see people outside, firefighters in their gear, building security, curious office workers. Stand back, someone shouted. Let us get them out. David stepped toward the opening first, then turned and held out his hand to Lisa. Ready? Lisa took his hand, holding Sophie tight with her other arm. Ready? They stepped forward toward the light, toward freedom, toward whatever came next. And Lisa realized that somewhere in the last 4 hours everything had changed. Not just the situation, but something deeper. Something important. Sometimes, she thought, you have to get stuck before you can move forward. The moment Lisa stepped out of the elevator, she was surrounded by people. Firefighters asking if she was okay. Paramedics reaching for Sophie, building security trying to take statements. The lobby had become chaos, and after 4 hours of quiet desperation in a metal box, it was overwhelming. "Please," one of the paramedics said gently. "Let me check your baby." Lisa's arms tightened around Sophie instinctively. She knew she should let them help. That's why they were there. But after 4 hours of being the only person Sophie had, letting go felt impossible. "It's okay," David said beside her. He'd followed her out despite his assistant trying to pull him in 3 different directions. "They need to check her." "You said she has a heart condition?" Lisa nodded, unable to find words. The paramedic, a woman with kind eyes and graying hair, stepped closer. "I'm Rachel," she said. "I'm just going to look her over, okay? You can hold her the whole time if you want, that helped." Lisa nodded again and loosened her grip just enough for Rachel to reach in with a stethoscope. Sophie whimpered but didn't have the energy to really protest. Rachel listened to her heart, checked her temperature, looked at her color. "Her temp is elevated but not dangerous," Rachel said. "Breathing is a little fast." "What's the heart condition?" "Atrial septal defect," Lisa managed. "Small hole." "They're monitoring it." Rachel nodded, unsurprised. "Okay, I think she's mostly just dehydrated and exhausted. But given the heart condition and the fever, we should take her to Mercy General to be safe. Just for observation." "I don't," Lisa started, then stopped. She'd been about to say she didn't have insurance, didn't have money for an emergency room visit. But what did that matter compared to Sophie's health? "Mercy General," David said firmly. He had his phone out again, but this time he had full signal. "I'm calling ahead. Tell them Sophie Ramirez is coming in and Dr. Patterson should be there to meet her." Rachel looked at David with new interest. "Dr. Patterson? The pediatric cardiologist? He's the best, right?" "The best in 3 states, Rachel confirmed. "You know him?" "I helped fund his research wing," David said simply, already dialing. "He'll be there." Lisa watched this happen like she was in a dream. David Chen, the annoyed businessman from the elevator, was casually calling in favors with top specialists like it was nothing. His assistant was still hovering, looking increasingly desperate, but David waved him off. "Mr. Chen." The assistant tried again. "The board meeting. They've been waiting for over 4 hours. The investors can wait another hour," David said flatly. "Or they can leave." "I don't really care which." The assistant's eyes went wide. Lisa got the sense that David didn't often say things like that. Another paramedic appeared with a gurney. "We're ready to transport." "I'm riding with her," Lisa said immediately. "Of course," Rachel said. "There's room for 1 parent." "I'll follow in my car," David said. He looked at Lisa. "If that's okay." Lisa didn't know what to say to that. This stranger, this rich CEO, wanted to follow them to the hospital. It didn't make sense. Nothing about this day made sense. But somehow having him there felt right. Like maybe she didn't have to do this alone. "Okay," she said. The ride to the hospital was a blur. Rachel kept checking Sophie's vitals, asking Lisa questions about her medical history. Lisa answered on autopilot, her mind still stuck in that elevator, still trying to process everything that had happened. 4 hours ago, she'd been rushing to an interview she'd already missed. Now she was in an ambulance with her sick daughter, and a CEO she'd just met was following behind them. At the hospital, things moved fast. They took Sophie back immediately, and a nurse gently but firmly told Lisa she needed to wait in the lobby while they did the initial examination. Lisa wanted to argue, wanted to stay with her daughter, but she could see Sophie was in good hands. Better hands than her own, really, with all their medical equipment and expertise. She found herself in a waiting room, surrounded by other anxious people. A man pacing with a phone pressed to his ear. A woman holding a sleeping toddler. An elderly couple sitting hand in hand, faces creased with worry. This was familiar territory. She'd spent a lot of time in hospitals when Sophie was first born. "Lisa?" She looked up to find David walking toward her. He'd somehow gotten his suit jacket back, though his shirt was still missing and his undershirt was visible under the jacket. He looked ridiculous. He looked wonderful. "They took her back," Lisa said, "to examine her. I know. I checked at the desk. Dr. Patterson is with her now." David sat down next to her. "She's going to be fine. You don't know that. You're right. I don't. But I believe it anyway." He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "My assistant is having a minor breakdown in the parking lot, by the way. Apparently I was supposed to approve a merger today. Millions of dollars on the line. You should go, Lisa said, even though the thought of him leaving made her chest tight. You've already done so much. The merger can wait. Or it can fall through. Honestly, right now I don't care. David looked at her. Is that terrible? Should I care more about millions of dollars than I do about a baby I just met? Most people would say yes. What do you say? Lisa thought about it. I think maybe you're remembering what your mom taught you. About money being just paper unless you use it to help people. David smiled. Yeah, maybe I am. They sat in silence for a while. Other people came and went in the waiting room. A nurse called someone's name. A doctor emerged to give an update. Time moved strangely, too slow and too fast at once. Mr. Chen? They both looked up. A man in a white coat was walking toward them, late 50s, with gentle eyes and silver hair. Dr. Patterson, Lisa guessed. Dr. Patterson, David said, standing up and shaking the doctor's hand. Thank you for coming. This is Lisa Ramirez, Sophie's mother. Ms. Ramirez. Dr. Patterson shook her hand, too. Your daughter is going to be fine. She's dehydrated and exhausted, and the stress did cause some irregular heartbeats, but nothing dangerous. We're giving her fluids now, and I want to keep her overnight for observation, but she should be able to go home tomorrow. Lisa felt her knees go weak. David's hand was suddenly on her elbow, steadying her. She's okay? She's okay. Tough little girl you have there. Dr. Patterson smiled. I've reviewed her previous records. The ASD is indeed very small, and showing signs of closing on its own. I'd like to schedule regular follow-ups just to monitor progress, but I'm optimistic. I can't afford regular follow-ups, Lisa said automatically, then immediately felt stupid. Here was this kind doctor helping her daughter, and she was talking about money. We'll work something out, Dr. Patterson said easily. My office has payment plans, sliding scales, all sorts of options. The important thing is making sure Sophie gets the care she needs. I'll cover it, David said. Both Lisa and Dr. Patterson looked at him. Lisa opened her mouth to protest, but David held up a hand. Before you argue, just listen. This isn't charity. This is me doing what I should have been doing all along with the money I've made, using it for something that matters. He looked at Dr. Patterson. Send all bills to my office. Ms. Ramirez and her daughter are not to receive a single medical bill. Not from this visit, not from future visits, nothing. David, I can't let you, Lisa started. You're not letting me do anything. I'm doing this because I want to. Because 4 hours trapped in an elevator with you and Sophie taught me more about what's important than the last 10 years of my life. David turned back to Dr. Patterson. Can she see Sophie now? Of course. Come with me. Lisa followed Dr. Patterson down a hallway through double doors into the pediatric wing. David walked beside her, and she was too overwhelmed to even process how strange it was that he was still here. That he'd stayed. Sophie was in a small room with cheerful painted walls. She was lying in a hospital crib, an IV in her tiny arm, but she looked so much better. Her color was good. Her breathing was normal. When she saw Lisa, she made a small, happy sound. Hey, baby girl, Lisa said, reaching into the crib to touch Sophie's soft hair. You scared Mommy. But you're okay now. You're going to be just fine. Sophie grabbed Lisa's finger in her tiny fist and held on tight. Lisa felt tears streaming down her face, but for the first time all day they were good tears. I'll let you have some time, Dr. Patterson said. A nurse will be by shortly to show you where you can rest. You're welcome to stay with her tonight. Thank you, Lisa managed. Thank you so much. When the doctor left, it was just Lisa, Sophie, and David in the small room. David hung back near the door as if he wasn't sure he belonged there. Maybe he wasn't sure. Lisa wasn't sure either. You should go, Lisa said softly. Deal with your merger. Your assistant. Your life. In a minute. David came closer, looking down at Sophie. She really is okay. Yeah, thanks to you. If you hadn't called Dr. Patterson. Lisa trailed off. I don't know how to thank you. For everything. You don't have to thank me. You gave me something today. A wake-up call. A reminder of what actually matters. He smiled. Though I am sorry you missed your interview. Lisa had completely forgotten about the interview. Oh, right. That. The position was for janitorial work in this building, right? Night shift? Yeah. Though I'm pretty sure showing up 4 hours late because I was trapped in an elevator isn't going to get me hired. Lisa tried to laugh, but it came out shaky. Probably not for that position, David agreed. But what about a different position? Lisa looked at him. What do you mean? Come to my office tomorrow, bring Sophie. We'll talk about what help actually looks like, about scholarships and childcare and flexible work, about getting you back on track for that nursing degree. He pulled out his wallet, extracted a business card. This has my direct number. Not my assistant's, not some general office line. Mine. Call me when you're ready. Lisa took the card with trembling fingers. It was simple, elegant. David Chen, CEO. And below that, a phone number and email address. I don't understand, she said. Why are you doing this? David was quiet for a moment. You know what the worst part of success is? Everyone treats you differently. They want something from you, or they're afraid of you, or they put on an act around you. Nobody just talks to you like a person anymore. He gestured between them. In that elevator, you treated me like a person. A jerk of a person at first, admittedly, but a person. And you told me the truth about your life, even though it was hard, even though you didn't know me. I didn't have much choice. We were stuck together. Exactly, we were stuck together, so the normal walls people put up didn't matter. And I got to see who you really are. Someone strong, someone fighting, someone who deserves a break. David smiled. Let me help you get that break, please. Sophie made a small sound and both of them looked at her. She was falling asleep, finally peaceful, finally safe. Lisa touched her daughter's cheek gently. Okay, she said softly. Okay, I'll call you. Good. David backed toward the door. I should let you rest. Both of you. But Lisa? Yeah? What happened today wasn't just good for you. It was good for me too. I needed that elevator to break down. I needed that wake-up call. He paused. Thank you for that. Then he was gone, and Lisa was alone with Sophie in the quiet hospital room. She pulled a chair up next to the crib and sat down, holding her daughter's tiny hand. Outside the window, the sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. It had been the longest, strangest, most terrifying day of her life. And somehow, impossibly, it might have also been the day everything started to change. Lisa stood in front of the glass building again, but this time everything was different. Sophie was healthy and happy in her arms, dressed in a clean outfit from the bag of baby clothes a hospital social worker had quietly given Lisa before they left. Lisa herself was wearing her best outfit, which still wasn't saying much, but at least it was clean. She'd spent the previous night in a hotel room that David had arranged, the first real bed she'd slept in for weeks. The business card felt heavy in her pocket. She'd looked at it 100 times since yesterday, half convinced this was all some elaborate dream, that she'd wake up in her car behind the grocery store and none of this would have happened. But Sophie was real and healthy in her arms. The hotel receipt in her bag was real. And the text message she'd received this morning from David's number was definitely real. Looking forward to seeing you both. Come to the 20th floor. Ask for me at reception. Lisa pushed through the glass doors. The same marble floors, the same expensive plants. But today, she wasn't rushing. Today, she'd been invited. The security guard at the desk smiled at her. Can I help you? I'm here to see David Chen. He's expecting me. Lisa Ramirez. The guard checked his computer and his eyebrows went up slightly. Of course, Ms. Ramirez. Mr. Chen left instructions. Take the elevator to the 20th floor. His assistant will meet you. The elevator. Lisa stared at the silver doors and felt her heart rate pick up. Sophie noticed her tension and made a questioning sound. It's okay, baby, Lisa murmured. It's a different elevator. And even if it gets stuck, we'll be fine. We'll always be fine. She stepped inside and pressed 20. The doors closed smoothly. The elevator rose without incident, and Lisa let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. Funny how yesterday she'd been terrified of missing an interview. Today she was terrified of something going right. The doors opened on the 20th floor and Lisa stepped into a world she'd only seen in movies. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Modern furniture that probably cost more than cars. Everything clean and sleek and impossibly expensive. A young man in a crisp suit approached her. David's assistant, the one who'd been having a breakdown in the parking lot yesterday. He looked much calmer today, though there was still a slightly frazzled edge to him. "Ms. Ramirez," he said, professional but warm. "I'm Thomas, Mr. Chen's assistant. He's just finishing a call. Can I get you anything? Water? Coffee? Something for the baby?" "Water would be great," Lisa said. "And maybe some apple juice if you have it." "Sophie likes apple juice." "Of course." Thomas led her to a seating area near the windows. "Please make yourself comfortable. Mr. Chen will be right with you." He disappeared, and Lisa sat down carefully on a chair that probably cost more than a month's rent. Sophie squirmed, in her arms, looking around at all the new sights with wide eyes. A few other people walked by, all in business clothes, all looking busy and important. Lisa felt completely out of place. Thomas returned with water and a sippy cup of apple juice. Sophie reached for it eagerly, and Lisa helped her drink. At least some things were normal. Babies didn't care about expensive offices or important meetings. They just cared about juice and naps and cuddles. Lisa. She looked up to see David walking toward her. He was in a full suit today, put together and professional. He looked like he belonged here, like he was born to be in this office. But when he smiled, she saw the same man from the elevator, the one who'd held her crying baby and talked about his mom's cracked hands. "David," she said, standing up. "Thank you for seeing me." "Thank you for coming." He gestured down a hallway. "My office is this way. We can talk privately." Lisa followed him down a hall lined with modern art and through a door into an office that took her breath away. The view was incredible. The entire city spread out like a map. David's desk was massive, but neat, with just a computer and a few carefully arranged items. One of them, she noticed, was a photo of an older woman with kind eyes. His mom, probably. "Please sit," David said, gesturing to a comfortable chair across from his desk. He didn't sit behind the desk, but pulled another chair around to sit next to her. More casual, less intimidating. Sophie was still drinking her juice, content for the moment. Lisa took a breath. "I still can't quite believe this is happening," she admitted. "I know the feeling," David said. "I've been thinking about our conversation all night, about what help should actually look like, and I want to be clear about something up front." Lisa's stomach dropped. Here it comes, she thought. The catch, the condition she couldn't meet. "This isn't charity," David continued. "I'm not offering you help because I feel sorry for you. I'm offering it because I see potential and I see someone who's already proven they're willing to work hard. What I'm about to propose is an investment in you, in your future, in what you can become." "Okay," Lisa said slowly. David pulled out a folder from his desk. "I spent last night and this morning working with my HR team and the foundation board. Here's what we came up with." He opened the folder. First, a full scholarship to the nursing program at City College. Tuition, books, fees, everything covered. The program is 3 years part-time, which brings me to point 2. He pulled out another document. "A position in my company. Not janitorial, though there's nothing wrong with that work. My mom would have my head if I disrespected it. But I'm thinking something in our health and wellness division. Administrative work, helping coordinate our employee wellness programs. 20 hours a week, flexible schedule around your classes. The pay is enough to cover rent, food, basic expenses." Lisa's hands were shaking. This was too much. This couldn't be real. "Point 3, David continued. "We're opening an employee childcare center here in the building. Opening it next month, actually. It's something my mom's been pushing me to do for years, and I finally listened. Sophie would have a spot there, no cost to you. Professional staff, including a nurse on site at all times who can monitor her heart condition." "David," Lisa managed. "I don't know what to say." "Don't say anything yet. There's one more thing." He pulled out a final document. "I've arranged for you to have an apartment. Not fancy, but clean and safe and in a good neighborhood. First 3 months rent paid. After that, your salary should cover it comfortably." Lisa stared at the papers in front of her. Scholarship, job, childcare, apartment, everything she needed. Everything she'd been desperately trying to figure out how to get. All laid out in neat documents with official letterheads. "Why?" she whispered. "Why are you doing all of this?" David leaned back in his chair. "Yesterday, stuck in that elevator, you told me about your dreams, about wanting to be a nurse, to help people, to make scared people feel safe. And I realized something. I spent years building this company, making money, accumulating success. But what's it all for if I'm not using it to help people achieve their dreams?" He gestured to the photo on his desk. "My mom cleaned toilets so I could go to college.